Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Ronnie here. In this episode, we are going to get the player movement working, or I'm sorry, not the player movement. I'm losing my brain now. The networking actually working, okay, so that we can add functionality going forward. With that said, we in the previous episode went ahead and used Ethan and set him up as our player, and the third uh, person uh, camera or the follow camera for our camera. I want to keep the follow camera, but I want to replace Ethan. And the reason that I want to do this is because some of the things that I want to do, the Ethan character, as it's set up, is not really, it doesn't do, it makes things a little bit more complicated. So the first thing we want to do is highlight our player and click on the gear icon in his transform and just copy that component. Okay, that's going to be super important. Open your asset store, and I'm going to download a really good 3D character model. It's got lots of animations associated with it, and it's called Unity Chan. So UNITY-CHAN. Give it a quick search, and the very first thing that pops up is the one that we want. So go ahead and click on that. I've already imported Unity Chan into mine, so I can save a little time. Go ahead and hit the import and or download and import, but get Unity Chan into your game, and we're going to replace Ethan with Unity Chan. Okay, so we'll just call it Chan going forward. What I would like for you to do now is get that done. Hit the pause button while you're doing that, and as soon as you get back, we will set Chan up. It'll be a lot faster. Okay, so you should have Chan downloaded. Okay, in the Unity Chan folder that you'll find here, what we want to do is go to our prefabs, and in for locomotion, you will see a Unity Chan model. Go ahead and bring that up, and we're going to come to our transform, which we copied. We copied the player transform. We're going to paste it here. So just paste component values. And that'll bring Unity Chan right over here so that we can work on her. Go ahead and delete your player. If you created a prefab out of them, you can get rid of that because we are not going to be using that. We're going to go ahead and rename Unity Chan to player. And don't forget to change her tag to player, okay? If she's not tagged player, then the camera won't find her. And just so that you can see, we're going to get rid of this face update script. That's just some extra garbage on the screen that we're not going to be using. So just go ahead and remove that component. And if you hit play, there we go. And she runs. She's animated. She can go forward and backward. She can jump. Everything's good. Everything works. And the camera is responding properly. All right. So the we are going to need to put the scripts that we created on her, okay, which is not a problem. All right. And if we go to our UI, oops, lock it in place. Our health bar image and our magic bar image. There we go. Go ahead and close those down. And unlock that. And in character stats, woohoo. Okay, so we'll just call her Chan. Level 1 is not dead. 25. 25, 25, 25. We'll just go 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay. So we're good there. Now, don't forget to save. Always save. Now, right now, Unity Chan works just fine. Okay. There's no issue there. We're going to go ahead and break that. Here is Unity Chan's control script with rigid body. We're going to remove that component. Yay. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to start putting together some networking, and then we're going to, during the networking, we're going to put together the a new movement script for Chan. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do, let's go ahead and prefab Chan. Okay, and we're going to create a new empty, and we're going to rename this to Network Manager. And on our Network Manager, we're going to add a couple of components, 2 components. The first one, and they're both going to be in network, is going to be the Network Manager. The second one and is going to also be a network, and it's going to be the Network Manager HUD. So let's go ahead and explain what these do. The Network Manager, okay, actually manages the network communication. Okay, it's when the player moves, the Network Manager is what goes and tells the server that the player has moved. When the server sends a command or to the clients, the Network Manager is what handles that. Now, there are different ways to set up networking. They go from super easy to immensely complex. We are going to be using easy and free today. Okay. With that said, and this is one of the things I really love about Unity's networking, the built-in networking, is that it's completely extensible. So we can add functionality and change the way things work very, very simply. But it just works right out of the box. The Network Manager HUD, this is a temporary thing. It's using the old UGUI interface. It's ugly, but it's good for testing. So we'll go ahead and use that. And if you want to see how it works, we'll just go ahead and hit play, and it should actually pop everything right up there. Okay, so there's our buttons here. We're going to go ahead and host so that this instance is both a client and a server. Okay, and that's that. And it won't actually do anything. It's not actually doing anything, but it is creating an instance. The next thing up is on our player prefab, we are going to add another component as well. And this is going to be a networking component, of course. And that is going to be a network identity. The network identity, every single thing that is interactable in your game on the network has to have a network identity. There are two types of identities. Okay, there are server only and local player authorities. Simply put, local player authority is for our characters, and server is for everything else. Okay, NPCs, monsters, animals, everything else. Okay, so just click on local player authority, and that gives us control over Chan. The next step is we need to actually register our player prefab as the player prefab. So go ahead and before we click off of our player, make sure you hit apply so that you can save the changes. And back in our network manager, it's right here in spawn info. You see a spot for player prefab. Go ahead and drag your player prefab in. Boom. Done right there. Now the let me double check, make sure I didn't miss a step there. Right. Okay. Yeah, we're good. So now the next thing we're going to do is build a new script. Okay, which it's going to start simple, and as we build it up, it's going to become more complex. So down here in scripts, right click, create a new C# script, and we're going to call this player controller. Okay, don't know what I did there. That's okay. And we will open player controller in Visual Studio. Everything's good here. We do not need start right now. We will later, actually, but we don't need it right now. And you know what? I don't like the way that. All right. So void update. Okay. Now we're looking better. Okay. Real simple right here. What we need to do is get input and then give the input to send the input to use the input to tell the character how to move. And that's all we're going to be doing right here, right now. So I'm going to go var x. The var is going to be it is going to come out as a float, but I'm using var just to be on the safe side. And we're going to say input dot get axis, and this is going to be our horizontal axis. And we're going to multiply this by time dot delta time, and multiply this by 150.0F. And okay, so this is going to return a float. Okay, like I said, I went ahead and went with var. Okay, but it's still going to return a float. It's checking for input. If it gets input on the axis horizontal, then it's going to take that, which comes back as a float, a floating point number between 0 and 1. And it's going to multiply that times the current delta time, and then multiply that by 150. Real quick, back in Unity, and I'll show you where it gets that from. Okay. So if we come to our preferences, project settings, yeah, project settings, input, then we have our axes here, and you see right here, horizontal and vertical. Okay, horizontal is left and right, A and D, blah blah blah. Okay, it uses the x-axis on the joystick if you're using a controller. It's all set up already. Vertical is exactly the opposite. Up and down, S and W, and the joystick axis. Of course, we can always add. We can add to these. We can subtract. I wouldn't get rid of any of the basic ones, but we can add to them, and for custom input. But right now, we're just going to use what came with it. So back in our script, we've got our horizontal. Now we need to do our vertical. So var y equals input dot, whoops, not gyro. That's for mobile. Oh, now I'm thinking gyro. Get axis vertical. And we're going to once again multiply this by time dot delta time. And the y-axis should be slower. Okay. Oh, well. Need to learn how to spell vertical, right? The y-axis needs to be slower. Okay, because that's the y-axis in 3D is not up and down. Okay, but it's a matter of rotation. Okay, so we're going to, instead of 150, we're going to make this 3.0F. Okay. And then we're just going to apply these changes to our prefab, okay, to our character. So we're going to go transform dot rotate. You know what? Not Y. We're going to go with C. Okay. Transform dot rotate. I got it backwards. It's been a while since I put one of these together, but it does work. Okay. So it's going to be 0, comma, x, comma, 0. And then we're going to do the same thing for a transform dot translate. And this one is going to be 0, comma, 0, comma, z. And with that, okay, if we come back to Unity, we're going to click on Chan, and we're going to drag our player controller script onto her. Now, there's going to be a huge difference here, okay, between what it was and what it is. okay, because we haven't got any of the animations in place yet, okay, which we will, okay, just not at this exact moment. But now we can rotate and move her. And like I said, we will be putting the uh, uh, the animations back in. Okay. The next thing that we want to do is let's see here. Add some networking to our movement. Show back in Visual Studio, right here back in our player controller script. This is where we're going to add some networking. Okay, I'm breaking this up so that you see what is movement and what is networking. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is add a using statement using Unity Engine .networking. And we're going to change our mono behavior from mono behavior to a network behavior. And this will work because network behavior derives from mono behavior. So it's got everything that mono behavior has, plus all the networking stuff. And the only thing that we need to do at this point is throw in an if statement at the beginning of our update. And we're going to say if this is not, okay, or not, is local player. So every update, it's going to check and see if the player that this is attached to is the local player. Then if it's not, then we're just going to return. If it's not the local player, then we just return. We get out of the update altogether, and we don't do anything else. We don't do any of this. If this is the local player, and of course, that's part of what the network behavior does. Then it checks. It says, "Oh, wait, this is local player." Skip our if statement, and then it checks for input and takes care of movement. So and you see here on our player controller script, all of a sudden now we've got network channel and ascend interval. So what I want to do is go into my build settings. The scene, we've never actually changed the name of the scene. Okay, it's still sample scene. That's fine. Sample scene is our scene that's in our build settings. We are targeting PC, Mac, and Linux standalone. And we are going to hit build and run. I went ahead and added a build folder in the top directory. So select, and this is going to take just a minute. It's got to go power through and check everything. I just want to make sure that this is functioning the way it's supposed to. It's not going to, though, because I forgot to do something super important. I'm going to quit. The reason why is because we made changes to our player and did not apply those changes to the prefab. Okay, now let's go and do this one more time. And we can just hit build and run since we know that everything else is correct. Building, 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 building. I did hit build and run, right? Let's just double check and make sure. Well, I couldn't just build and run because, no, actually I could. I don't know what's going on there. Okay. I do want this to be windowed because we're going to be using 2 instances. Here, I can get rid of that. We're going to have 2 instances. One is going to be a standalone instance right here. The other is going to be right back here in our editor. So I want this to be small enough so that it's not taking up the whole screen. We'll go ahead and drop this down to like 800 by 600. That'll be fine. And I'm going to hit play. And that's good. I am also going to hit play on the editor. And here I'm going to hit local LAN host. And back here I'm going to hit LAN client. And it's just going to look for a host on the local host. And for some reason it's not accepting movement. And I know why. Okay, that's not an issue. Like I said, I do know why it's not functioning properly. That's a step that we're going to get to in just a minute. Let's go back to our player. And we got our network identity, our player controller. We're going to add another component. This is going to be another networking component. Okay, so network, and we want to set up a network transform. Everything can be changed here. There's not a lot to change. Okay. You can change the send rate. That's the size of the packets that it's sending at any given point. I've found that leaving this at 9 works just fine. We've got movement and velocity thresholds, and they are very, very low. And we want to go ahead and leave those there. Snap threshold is 5. What the snap threshold does is it says if Chan has moved more than 5 units, absolutely, okay. If you're receiving information that she's moved more than 5 units, then you move her on the clients, and try and make it as smooth as possible. We're going to leave the full 3D rotation axis because she is going to have the ability to jump, and keep everything the same. Okay. So, yes, that we need. Can't think of anything else right there. All right. Let's try this one more time. Okay. Whoops. So I'm going to come in here, build and run. Or not. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to hit play. And here in the inspector, or in the editor, we've got a player, but that's this right here. Okay. If we hit the LAN host, okay, that's good. Now we're going to hit play here. And we're going to hit LAN client. I'm actually going to stop that because I do not want this maximized. Okay, LAN client. Here we go. Hit play. Go to LAN client. Okay, so we have player. That is the one that we left in the scene. Okay, and 2 clones. Okay, these are that are falling. That's what's going on. Okay, if you look right here, this clone is falling. This clone is falling. Brilliant. Because they are not spawning where they're supposed to. So we need to fix that. And we can. What we need to do is set up some spawn points. Okay. And clearly that's going to be in Network Manager. Ah, right, I remember now. Okay, so we're going to create an empty game object, and I'm just going to call this spawn point. And our spawn point we've got right here. I'm going to just move this back a little bit. And we're going to add a component here. Okay, it's going to be a network component, and it is going to be a network start position. And I want a second one, so we're just going to duplicate, and we'll move it up here like so. And that way, on our network manager, we have we're telling it this player spawn method is should be random. We're going to change this to round robin. Okay, that way we don't end up on the same spawn point. And go ahead and hit save, build and run. And now everything should work. So we're going to hit LAN host here. And there we are. Okay, so we're that. We're going to get rid of this player. That's fine. We'll just make sure we have applied to our prefab. All right. What did I do wrong? Apply to the prefab. Make sure we got everything right. Delete. Thank you. Spawn point. Good, good. And build and run. I think what it was doing is accepting the one that we left in the scene as a legitimate player, and that was allowing the camera to override it, or override what we wanted to be happening. But since we are not using the standard assets character, maybe we're going to have to use the create a custom camera as well, a follow script. Okay, let's give this a go. Okay, so we've got Unity, we got Chan there. And that should do there. So back over here in our editor, we are going to hit play and connect as a client. And there we go. That's both of them. And that's not working quite the way I intended. Still, yep, I'm going to have to set the camera up separate. But that's fine. That's very easy to do. I was trying to save some time and effort on the first episode, and looks like I went ahead and messed that up anyway. So this right here, the movement we've got going correct. We do need to teach the camera how to tell which player is local, so that it will follow the local player. And that should take care of everything right there. We'll do that in the next episode. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments down below. I appreciate everything that y'all have done supporting this channel and these videos. There's probably on the screen right now a couple of cool videos that you can hit. And of course, there's a subscribe button. That's the big round button. And I'll see you on the next video.